No, I don't see ADHD as an illness at all, and this is a really negative way of seeing it. I mean, that's literally untrue. Bill Gates is ADHD, Richard Branson's ADHD. I'm ADHD. My business has made 20 million over the years. So today's question is, are there any successful entrepreneurs here with significant ADHD? Obviously, the word significant there is relevant. Someone feels that they are higher up the scale in terms of the challenges that ADHD brings them. The question is, I've had an entrepreneurial itch since I was 6. I remember creating things that I thought the market would like because I liked the idea of giving something to people that they wanted. Very common for ADHD people. We can be very purpose-led. I have close to 100 business ideas, but I feel like my lack of executive functioning has gotten in the way. Is there anyone here that has really bad ADHD? How did you overcome and be successful? Okay, so a response here. Yeah, dude, all of us. I couldn't get through a book until I was 30. Entrepreneurship, juggling 30 projects at once, constantly having to deliver on things I've never done before. My brain needs all of that. Give me something to think about all day. To actually accomplish things, I write things down. I don't store anything in my head. Really important point. Writing down can be mundane for a lot of ADHD people, but at the same time, it is quite important because the more we have in our heads, the more overwhelmed we tend to get. This is why I tend to suggest that people focus on one thing at once. And going back to the 100 projects that someone might have, the missing element here is actually prioritization. So having some way to make a decision, and indecision is really common for ADHD people. So one thing at once. I triage my daily work, 1 to 2 things, perfect. If I do more, great, but just 1% better each day and it piles up. But the 1 or 2, I write that down and I think about them before I go to sleep, visualize how and where I'll accomplish them. Then I wake up and I'm ready to do it. Great solution. So key thing for ADHD people is that we feel like we have to pack so much into our days as entrepreneurs. We have this 9 to 5 mindset, but in actual fact, entrepreneurship's not really like that. Entrepreneurship's much more about making a decision on how you're going to be successful. How are you going to be successful? And if you're not someone who is great at doing 10 different tasks in a day, lots of task switching, don't do it. You don't have to. There's nothing in the rule book that says that's what you have to do. I also walk a lot and walk in short bursts with high productivity. Can't sit in one place for more than an hour at a time, if that. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. The key element, I think, and the reason this is such a positive response is that this person has decided to design their business around them and their life. And that's something that I always suggest. Okay, another one. I fit enough qualifying criteria, severe ADHD, unable to manage so many tempting ideas, have made a number of businesses successful, been working on a single business for 5 years and a separate single product for 3. For me, it was about developing habits that worked, intense calendar usage, including a lot of recurring reminders that trigger emails, a business ideas tracker with a row per idea, and to which I add new columns very occasionally these days. The latter practice enabled me to add weighted criteria and freed me up to focus on what scored highest without FOMO, which goes back to the point that I was saying. This is about prioritization. So the real problem that this person is facing is that they've got 100 ideas and they haven't chosen a single one to work on. And this reply here makes that point. They've got themselves a spreadsheet, they've added criteria, and that helps them make decisions. Now, I've got the same system actually that I use occasionally in my business and more commonly with customers than with me, where you can add your criteria, weight them, and then it gives you some kind of feel for maybe areas that you should or shouldn't be focusing in. So this is a great response. Okay, another one. Raise his hand. Yeah, me too. I'm in a creative field and make over 100k a year. I do it with discipline, just sitting down and getting stuff done and understanding and accepting I won't be perfect. I try my best, my very best, and that's usually good enough. You can't make ADHD go away, but you can manage it and it's not your fault. But it is your responsibility. That's the attitude I approach it with, and it helps me to relax and just be me, which produces my best work. There's some good stuff here. Discipline. I'm on record as saying I don't like that word when it comes to ADHD people because our brains are wired for interest over importance, and And this is as important as drinking water or eating food to us. So discipline can be very hard for people, particularly if they're a bit higher on the scale with ADHD. So I don't recommend people try and build discipline. However, accepting that you won't be perfect is great. I certainly talk a lot about flexible schedules. So maybe one day you want to do, some web design. Maybe the next day you'd plan to do some marketing of some kind, some Instagram or something. But if you don't feel like doing it, it's normally best to delay it until a time that you do feel like doing it. It's interesting that you use the word try. I try my best, I try my very best, and that's usually good enough. Try is an interesting word. There is a famous quote, and I think it might have been Yoda that said it, although don't kill me in the comments if I'm wrong. There is no try, there is only do or don't, or something like that. And it is true. You either have to do something or you don't. Try is normally some kind of psychological get out. And I don't mean that with any negativity whatsoever. It's just a word that people use to suggest that they're probably not going to do something. If you get asked to go to a family party and you don't want to go, you might say, well, I'll try, because you don't really want to tell the person no immediately. So try normally means that someone doesn't believe they are going to do something. Now, how can we change that and lift it up to hope, optimistic, certainty, all of those kind of things? That's in how we approach things. So the certainty comes from when we've found a system that works for us, and we've tried it enough times that we're fairly comfortable and confident that we will achieve it. Now, next one is me just learn to distract your mind with lots of tasks. Distract your mind with lots of tasks. I think the tasks would have to be tasks that you want to do. I don't know whether this particularly works for most ADHD people unless they happen to be working in an area they really want to work within. Now, let's get on to a few that maybe aren't quite so positive. You should first see a doctor to treat your illness. I mean, ADHD is not an illness. We have delivered so much to the world. It's likely some very famous people like Leonardo da Vinci were ADHD or certainly neurotypical, and plenty of inventors who've given us a lot of the most useful technology have been ADHD and autistic. No, I don't see ADHD as an illness at all, and this is a really negative way of seeing it. It's just a difference, it's not an illness. And the final one, have ADHD but successful ? No, I don't think so. I mean, that's literally untrue. Bill Gates is ADHD, Richard Branson's ADHD. I'm ADHD, my business has made 20 million over the years. It's not. ADHD isn't the reason that people aren't successful. ADHD is the reason for us not to choose to approach tasks like neurotypical people would do. Neurotypical people don't try and be ADHD. Why do we try and be like them? We know it's not going to work. We keep trying it. It doesn't work. And this is this word try again. So we can move away from this word try and towards finding a system that works for us, as a few of the other people have done. I think that's a great solution.